interesting town hall, as a lot of people have been building this up, and we have gathered all the questions from whether it be Telegram, whether it be the Facebook group, whether it be questions that you have right here and now. You will have both the co-founders, Sharpen, Warren, and myself trying to intermediate this a town hall meeting and making sure that all topics are covered, that nothing is left unturned, and that we come away from this webinar with crystal clarity about where we are and where things are headed, and address every single matter that is on your mind. And we will go through A through Z. With that being said, do let us know where you guys are joining us from. We are quarantined here in Bangalore, India, trying to make the most of that, trying to connect with everyone around the world. And in that time, we have actually made what we hope to be a wonderful progress to share with you guys. So we have Spain in the house. Spain, hola. How's it going? Well, we have Spaniards as part of the colonization of global exchange. And I know that US is in the house, as well as many of the friends that I recognize. Oh, Jeremy, how's it going, man? Oh, Andre, oh, Adolf, how's it going? So we're gonna get this started shortly. I have gathered those questions that were brought up in the Telegram chat. And again, you guys can, hey Judy, how's it going? You guys can ask questions as it is. First and foremost, let's start with the introduction of our wonderful, illustrious leader, Sharpen, who is, of course, the Einstein, the brains behind this platform. And I think the reason why we are all entranced by what this could be, because of this kid genius that has captured our imagination and opened up the possibilities of us being a gateway, a portal into the cryptocurrency space without actually needing to be polarized in one particular crypto, just saying, hey, here's the amazing world of crypto and how we can give the world access to it and make a career out of that as a global exchange broker, which I'm extremely entranced by that idea, because it opens up what is commonly known as the greatest redistribution of wealth, which is cryptocurrency, and we can participate without having a favorite horse in the race and just bet on the track. So with that, Sharpen, how have things been on your side, and what have you been cooking up lately?
Sal, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for setting up the call, for diligently making sure that it got arranged and that everyone was aware of it. Appreciate that. I would like to take the time to thank everybody that is on the call. It is very humbling to know that you guys are watching and attempting to make this work, and that is always a point of comfort for us. So again, appreciate your effort, your commitment. Shout out to everyone hanging out at home all over the world, depending on how strict the quarantine is, and hopefully you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. So with that being said, on my side, things have been pretty exceptional, and I hope to elucidate some of that today. More of the last, I would say from the mid of January, so let's say January 15th to now, which is the middle of April, or almost near the end of April, which is a solid 4 months. I've had the opportunity, or at least force myself to obtain the opportunity to entrench myself with the product development team and the engineering team to really restructure, analyze, think about how the next kind of generation of global exchange products will work, and how we can improve, make kind of quantum leaps in certain processes. So we've been doing that pretty religiously, and hopefully on this call we look to illuminate that and juxtapose it against the things that we need to improve on in the short term, as well as how we can leverage what we have already in place to provide more opportunity for more people.
Absolutely. So what I think drew all of us here was the possibility of the vision that global exchange presents. And with that, of course, trying to create something new, trying to create go from 0 to 1 presents its own unknown world of challenges and, of course, great rewards should those challenges be overcome. And in the Telegram chat, this is where this town hall was initiated. This is where this idea of let's get together and have an open conversation began. And from there, I've gathered the questions that was asked by a few individuals that may have been on the minds of countless individuals. And we're going to go through and address those and make sure we cover those common concerns, as well as then paint the picture of what's being done to both resolve those as well as move forward in a way that I think, and Sharpan and I had a meeting this morning that is much, much greater than what you guys could imagine, because you are unaware of what has been in the works behind the scenes, and hopefully you guys get a preview of that. So with that, I will begin my interrogation and representation of the field and ask away. Ready for the rapid fire?
Okay, yeah, I just want to clear, like, if, you know, I know you collected all the questions, and some people, like, for example, another couple of questions were asked. I think there were ones that you have in your notes, though. Like, I also want to know, is it going to be rapid fire, then tangential conversations followed by Q&A? Are we going to open this up at any point to people that are here? And that's my first question. My next question would be, are we going to allow people to respond to my answers, maybe if they want to hyper specify something? And finally, have we informed people about a time limit, if there is any?
Oh man, time limit.
And I know that might a bunch be a structural questions that you didn't think you would have to answer. So let's see if we can make up some answers on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm cognizant of this being a dialogue, not just a monologue. And although I will do my best to represent the voice of the field and try to amplify their voice into your ears and get those answers, I do want to continue to get feedback from them in real time. So should questions be kind of trigger in your mind due to the answer that Sharpan gives in real time, do mention that here so that I can actually voice them and we'll get those answers. In terms of time limit, hopefully in time for people to enjoy their dinners on the East Coast, as it's about 1 p.m. there. So not longer than 3 hours, but I think it should be a healthy, concise conversation that people can leave with some sense of understanding our pain points and our resolutions and our outlooks and what they can actually see in the near future, and as opposed, in addition to right now. So yeah, you guys are more than welcome to ask all questions, and we will cover every single one of them. So do not fret. We're here specifically for this purpose. We're here to listen as well as to answer, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to ebb and flow with the direction of the conversation, and it is going to be more of a Q&A as well as a more tangential explanation of the answers that you provide.
Yes, just the answer to the last question, this is going to be recorded. Absolutely, it is recorded, and it will be chopped up in bits if people want to consume it in question by question. It'll also be posted naked. So that's just, don't worry about staying the entire time. I would not wish that on anybody. So let's go straight into it on the first question, Mr. Celebrity.
Okay, well, no, Mr. Representative. We have a question from LJ Coco, who asks, when will withdrawals be automatic? Otherwise, it consumes more time.
Sorry, the second part of that question I didn't get.
Otherwise, it consumes more time. I guess the time.
The statement. The second part's a statement.
Oh, the first question is when will withdrawals be automated? Okay,
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if you're structuring these questions in any particular syntax, but I'm going to assume that you are, and go ahead and answer it as accordingly to that. When will it be? I think there's you have to analyze it case by case. So there's fiat, kind of, let's say it's crypto withdrawals, fiat withdrawals, and then token withdrawals. I like to differentiate, like we've recently updated the vault so that it shows the difference kind of between tokens and crypto. Tokens are essentially Ethereum-based tokens such as GXT, Ceph, etc. Crypto is the three cryptos that we support: Bitcoin, USDT, and Ether. And then fiat is fiat. So we temporarily suspended fiat withdrawals directly to your bank. As we were kind of reconfiguring the thought, I hope that that comes up in another question so I can further elongate on that, because that's a really kind of meaty answer. But so the fiat withdrawals, when they come back, which should be, and we're going to announce that today, is going to be the normal processing time of 1 to 2 business days to get the processing going, and then however long it takes for the bank wire to get completed. So that's on the fiat side. On the crypto side, right, we've been very clear that the average time for a withdrawal ranges anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours, but then also been clear that many withdrawals take longer than that. So actually there might be there's a technicality here that I don't think people may appreciate, and I actually didn't appreciate it when I was dealing with exchanges, so it might be prudent to go into that a little bit. So first and foremost, if we're operating a purely crypto operation, which means that's like Binance, for example, where you're crypto in, crypto out, you can actually programatize almost every single element of that process, because the inbound, which is the crypto in, is completely immutable. It's structured on the blockchain, and so Binance never has to worry about the validity, the provenance, and the kind of custody over the assets that are coming in. Well, if that's your balance sheet, it becomes a really simple equation, because you're never going to have problem on your deposits. It's just then you're structuring your withdrawals, and to make that a programmatic function is quite simple. But when you are offering a fiat gateway, then things get tremendously more complicated, because now you have to structure the entire validation has to happen on the deposit side. So someone's sending in $10,000 bank transfer, e-transfer, whatever it is, that process is the part that's very difficult. And then someone would ask, well, once I trade into crypto, once you put my USD in my account and I trade into crypto, what relevance does that have? It has a tremendous amount of relevance, because there's many, and I can give you case-by-case examples of why exchanges hold funds and under the parameters on which they do. The reason is that fiat currency can always be recalled in some manner or the other. Now, the most vicious example of that is credit card clawbacks. But even when it comes to bank transfers, there are so many times when we've received bank transfers from people, and then those have been problems where we had to deal with it with our bank, because, for example, that there wasn't some KYC policy or something that wasn't obtained on the banker's side, or God knows what happened. And so because of that, it's actually, upon a crypto withdrawal, there's a programmatic audit that happens to validate, because we not only accept fiat, we also accept crypto, and we also accept transfers in between customers. And so essentially all of that has to be validated at the point of withdrawal. And in some cases, especially people that were grandfathered in, the ledger data prior to a specific date is messy, because things were being added rapidly. And so I find that people that have been customers of us for a long time and have a long transaction history have a more complicated audit process, and sometimes that gets kicked into a manual sandbox, and it's dealt with just like any other financial institution deals with manual stuff, painfully and boringly. And so I think that for every 50 to 100 withdrawals that we process, there's probably an issue with 1 or 2 of them. Now, that's an extraordinary accomplishment and an extraordinarily point of misery as well, because that you're doing 1,000 withdrawals a day. That's 20 people that are going to be furious. And unfortunately, that's the numbers that we're living with, and we hope to make that much better. So yeah, that is kind of the answer to that.
Okay. No, so to summarize the bullet points of that question, fiat withdrawals, are they back in?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to, that's announcement number 1, and maybe we need to make some posters for all of these announcements. But announcement number 1 is that fiat withdrawals in USD only, actually right now, is completely up and functional again, and it can be managed through your, and I know we had another question about GX chat, so I'm sure we'll address that, but it'll be done directly through your GX chat. You can just talk to people there and get it done. And soon you'll just be able to click the button and process the withdrawal like in the old days, but a little bit more fluid of a process. Now, yeah, that's up and running. So you can withdraw money to your bank, have the right expectations around that. And that's really great, because if you have crypto that you want to liquidate, you can just send in your Bitcoin, get the dollars, convert it to dollars, sit on it however long you want, and then ask to withdraw it. So that's great in terms of being able to liquidate. It's now, both ways.
Most crypto wallets serve as just a holding or an intermediary. Very few of them offer both onboarding and offboarding. So I know we've very much focused on the onboarding, but to now offer an outlet, whether you've earned crypto in our platform or have seen your crypto assets grow in value and thus you want to liquidate, or transfer funds from other crypto platforms that now allowing you to liquidate that into the bank. What is the right expectation of time frame, as of course that can vary and be contingent upon the bank account that people have?
Yeah, I mean, so the goal was when we wanted to reenact the withdrawal feature that it would be the fullest version of what we're trying to do with the, let's call it the new vault. That's not the one that's getting released today. What we're releasing today is some amalgamation of that. And so, you know, I would say that expect probably a 2 business day turnaround for processing, plus whatever the actual wire transfer time is, which depending on what country you are is drastically different, but Canada and the United States probably tag another 2 business days onto that.
Okay.
So, but again, that I do expect that process to, I think another thing I wanted to make super clear, maybe you can make just notes on this as well, to posit, is that we're going to try to identify the things that are great right now, are horrible right now, but are going to become great very quickly, and are horrible right now and are not going to become great anytime soon. So I want to categorize each process within one of those 3 categories. And what I would say is that that one, which is withdrawing fiat, is not, it's as good as anybody else right now, which is not great, and it's going to become very, very good very soon. That's something we're committed to, which I can't say about everything that we're going to talk about.
Okay, sounds good. And you mentioned about crypto withdrawal, the back-end analytics and the accounting that needs to go in to actually do that. What is the average withdrawal time for?
Oh, the average time is exactly the median between 30 minutes and 60 minutes. It's like about 45-ish, 45 to an hour-ish. And
Sure.
And sometimes it's faster than that, sometimes lower than that. But I mean, once it goes into the manual sandbox, it goes into the no man's land, I would say.
Okay.
By the way, I mean, that's not unique to us at all. That's completely not unique to us.
Yeah, I can understand. We have a question. We have a question from Faito Khan in regards to communication gaps. Brokers are hesitant to introduce new brokers until questions get answered. So what is the resolution to communication gaps as they have culminated into now what we are at, which is a town hall meeting? How can we mitigate this or lower the curve of questions that mount that leads up to this?
So I want to answer that question, but Jackie, I think, had something to say to the question that we just had in the chat, Zoom chat. So she's like, is that the time you're saying now? So she's saying, are you now going to assure that that's going to be the time I'm saying about the crypto withdrawals is going to be the case moving forward, because that's not been her experience. So that's a very valid response. So let me first put it like this. If you've made 100 withdrawals and you've had 30 bad experiences, then that is a huge problem. If you've made 5 withdrawals and you've had 1 bad experience, even though that's 20% of your experience, that's actually not a statistical improbability. It's actually quite likely when you average that out. So when I say that the majority of transactions happen in that time, now in order to actually be cognizant of that spread, you'd have to have made a lot of withdrawals. And obviously that's not your responsibility or any customer's responsibility to kind of make enough transactions where the numbers make sense. I'm not trying to justify that. I'm just trying to say that my numbers are based on that type of quantitative analysis, and that in the case that you've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 withdrawals and 2 of them have not been pleasant, that is again, that's not the representation of 100, for example, but that is not acceptable in the experience that one person had, but that definitely isn't the representation. I mean, I know that because I know how many exact withdrawals we make every day to some degree. So I want to say that we are going to continue to make that process better, probably not as diligently as we're going to make the fiat withdrawals better, because that's something we're super committed to. This process of, let's say, you know, I mean, I use blockchain.com, I use Exodus, I use Coinbase, Binance, Bitfinex, excuse me, and I know immediately the difference between them in terms of how long it's going to take to withdraw. If you want the speediest withdrawals with this, let's say, sub 5 minutes, then you go to a wallet that has no fiat infrastructure attached to it. And so I'm also trying to, it would be very convenient for me to say, we're working right now diligently to get withdrawal times down to a minute. That's actually not true. We feel that providing all the ancillary infrastructure around being able to procure, sell, hedge, all of that crypto, allows us the ability to probably sit at somewhere. I'd be very thrilled if we could get down to a consistent 30 minutes, 35 minutes. That would be phenomenal. If you analyze that against all of the additional things that we have to consider liable for, that the other platforms that do it quicker than us don't. So just wanted to put that in there.
It's very much necessary to announce, and you guys may not know this, that 99% of the frustrations that may come aboard is on the onboarding and offboarding, which is the fiat to crypto, crypto to fiat, which actually is something that we're trying to turn that into a strength, because so many of the platforms do not offer that, and should we become like every other platform by cutting most of those pain points, then yes, anything that just operates in the world of crypto is much smoother, as you guys may have seen. And that's where trying to provide this unique service leads to unique obstacles to overcome.
Okay, sorry, I really want to rant. So just because you said that, are totally acceptable as long as we can have a definite maximum time that we can plan around. Absolutely, Fireball. I completely agree with that. I mean, it's a very good statement, and that's probably where we will take fault, which is in our ambition to beat, norms. We have always overpromised and underdelivered. Now, I just feel, and I'm not making a comparison to that company or that person, but if someone is giving you exaggerated expectations and then can claim to accomplish some of that, and that still gets you much further than not getting that, that's better. But I also understand that when you're speaking to clients in the field, that might not be the ideal strategy. And we're definitely now in the state of, we're going to give you the worst case scenario. And we hope to do that, effectively. And I completely agree with that. But just back to my rant, because Sal, you, is the FB report issued a potential impact on USDT? Oh man, that is a great question. That's such a great question and such a technical question that I want to not address that right now. And so I'll write that question down and we will address it after. It's so phenomenal. So 16-hour wait for GX chat. I think, unless you want me to attempt, Sal, to answer the chat response time with the withdrawal response time.
Allow me to bring up.
Yeah, come back to that. But let me go on my rant because it's important. So the predication, Sal just touched on it. And I in my answer, I expressed this practically, but I'm now going to express it as a conceptual map for you to understand. And again, as a customer, you don't have to sympathize with this, but you have to vote with your feet as a customer. And I'm going to lay out the landscape from a map perspective. Okay, so right, I'm gonna definitely address Jackie's expression as well. So I'm gonna lay out the map just so you have an understanding of what's out there and what you can expect. So first and foremost, there's not a single company on planet Earth that wakes up one day and says, I want to provide limited service in any capacity. And those limitations can manifest itself through, well, I don't want to provide a fiat to crypto onboarding wrap. Nobody says that. And nobody says, well, I don't want to do credit card processing, or I don't want to have banks in every country. I don't want to make it simple for my customers. No, nobody's objective is that. I want to have very long withdrawal times. That's not something any company says. So then why does that take place? It actually takes place because of the limitations that company wishes to endure. So let me give you a great example. And actually, we have now structured some of our offerings in a way that this is bifurcated clearly. So first and foremost, the crypto-only enterprises versus the fiat and crypto enterprises. If you went to like the almighty crypto, deity and said, hey, how do I run a business where my customers never need to wait for anything? He would not blink and he would respond and saying, oh, you would just do a crypto to crypto platform. Okay, and then the companies like Binance who said that's a great idea are going to go and do that. And because of that limitation of only being crypto to crypto, which is a functional limitation, they have the luxuries of living in there. So then I go to the deity, or someone else, Coinbase goes to the deity and says, hey, I want to provide, immediate everything and just have it super fast. And they're gonna say, well, go crypto to crypto. And then Coinbase will say, well, no, I want to also offer fiat. And then the deity will be like, oh, well, that's your choice. These are now the new limitations. And then they have to make choices between that. So one limitation in the case of Coinbase, and now you can compare Global Exchange to Coinbase because they also accept fiat, is that they have been able to choose what format of fiat currency they choose because of the level of regulation and oversight they expose themselves to. And so Coinbase essentially said, okay, we'll accept fiat, but you have to perform this type of KYC, you have to be in this jurisdiction, you can only fund through these mechanisms, and there are daily limitations to the amount that you can purchase and withdraw. Those are tremendous amount of limitations, of which we have none. And a response to that is not that we're great and Coinbase is terrible. It's actually that because of all of those limitations, Coinbase can still fulfill some things we can never do. For example, maybe immediate processing or something along those lines. But it's not that we can't do that, and it's not that Coinbase can't become crypto to crypto like Binance. It's that when you go and expose yourself to that, you are giving up something else. And so we have to be very clear here, is that's why I say as a customer, you have to vote with your feet, which is, if your goal is immediate crypto and to withdraw it instantly, there is someone offering that. But that same person for damn sure is not offering for example, that's not going to be ever available in every country. It's probably not even going to be available in every developed country, let alone the developing countries. And so what do you say about that? If you're living in Portugal, or if you're living in Russia, or if you're living in some country in Latin America, well, you don't even have the option to do that. Global Exchange at least gives you an option. Now, is it as great as if we had subjugated ourselves to every limitation? Of course not. So now you're playing with the two sides of every equation, which is, you're going to say, do I prioritize speed? Is that my primal value, or is it access? And when you go for access, you're reducing speed. And not just that, the degree to which you go for access, you're going to reduce speed. And that happens in thousands of kind of calculations over any given business, especially one as complex as ours. And so we are making those decisions aware of that, and they manifest to certain customers as, it's not capable of doing it. That's never the case. Nobody doesn't want to do everything. It's impossible. And that, by the way, when you're going out into the Google Maps of the cryptocosm, keep that in mind. Because nobody has the ability to do everything perfectly. When you prioritize speed or decentralization or amount of cryptos offered or amount of payment methods offered or whatever it is, you're giving up something else. And what we have a set of principles that maybe we haven't articulated as clearly or as repetitively as we should, that we prioritize. And is speed one of them? Sure. Is it number one? Absolutely not.
Well said. As the rant needs to cover these various ranges of explanation of why these additional pain points are incurred because of the additional services that we're trying to offer, and I do agree that in our messaging we do need to convey that better, and we appreciate the level of patience that our brokers and our customers are granting us to actually make those services better and smoother. We have a question from Faito Khan in regards to more of a concern and more of a point, a suggestion. Please provide frequent Zoom calls so there will not be communication gaps. Brokers are hesitant to introduce new brokers until they get all the questions answered. What is our resolution to that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we have an actual proper bid resolution for that. We are putting together, and I thought I'd have some glorious fireworks and animations for this, but I don't, just because we're trying to get it done. We're putting together something called the Broker Council. And the Broker Council, to some degree, you can imagine, is like an official representation of the field, marked by people in the field and kind of voted on by people in the field. So the first kind of Broker Council, we're just arbitrarily choosing by people we know are effective, they're doing stuff in the field, and we try to make that as diverse as possible. It's going to be a group of 12 people that actually meet on a weekly basis. Well, not meet because they're all over the world, but Zoom on a weekly basis. And what this is going to do, and we aim to do this every Sunday, and I think we're having one this Sunday. So this is going to be essentially 12 delegates, I think at the beginning it might be 6, that will have the most up-to-date information on global exchange, and probably information that's kind of useless because it's so up-to-date. But I'm going to dump it all on them on Sunday, every Sunday. And they now become bastions of knowledge, of course, including Sal and the rest of the team, Warren, Aaron, all of these guys will have that as well. So now there's essentially these nodes that possess extraordinarily potent information, not just updates like the ones that you would want, also updates maybe in the cases of some that you don't. And so they are going to essentially be truth carriers and representations of the bridge between the field and what happens in between my ears, and they will carry that out periodically, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I would imagine, right after the call. And so the great thing about them is that not only are they coming down from Mount Sinai to address, you know, what's happening up there, but it's also the other way, which is that throughout the week, when you have issues, you can contact anybody in the broker council and you can inform them this needs to get resolved now, and they will come and yell at me to get it done. And so there becomes this kind of methodical way that you can have actual representation by people that are going through the same things, and it'll become a system. A Zoom call will be recorded, it'll be available for everyone to see, obviously, if you want to watch it, but then there'll also be a mechanism of delineating that information once they get it from me. So the entire field will have this kind of metamorphosized sense of what's going on much faster, because now a group of people who are super invested in the field will have a very clear sense of what's going on, and that works both ways, up and down.
Brilliant. So this new edition will capture the both concerns and serve as a microphone for Sharpan to get that out to the field. We have selected some of the 12 councils. If you would like to be anointed one and believe that you're a good representation and can live up to both the responsibilities and the privileges that come with that, feel free to reach out to me as I'm coordinating the first call for this Sunday. And that should be quite intimate, and of course those calls will be recorded for everyone else. Now, next set of questions come from Nick Boyles. He has very much articulated his questions into numbers, and we're going to cover them one by one as he has put them in those arrangements. First question: the ability to stake and unstake GX token without contacting support.
Tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow, which is very soon. Number two, return.
Let's put another barrier of cushion there. 2 days, but I think tomorrow.
Yeah, so quite soon to do that. Number two, returning the ability to buy crypto in the back office.
I have no idea what that question meant at all, so I was thoroughly confused.
I believe what he means is credit card. And
okay, that's what he means. That's
what the back office is for, buying crypto.
Yeah, so I think the entire vault is built for that purpose. But if what you're talking about is credit card, I think some people might not even have a recollection of what that means. Is that there used to be a button inside of Global Exchange that said buy crypto with credit card. It would redirect you to one of our subsidiaries called Crypto Purchase, which we built simply to act as a credit card gateway. And so by popular demand, we have re-enabled that button. And so if you are so kind as to log into your back office, or I'll do it myself just to show you where it is. Share the screen. So you can log in, like I'm logging in. 1 second. I started typing out the one password and the username. No, this was a rough password. It's not one that you want to know. So now it's back here. You can click this button. It'll take you to Crypto Purchase. If you sign up a customer and they click this button, they're actually going to your Crypto Purchase link, so you're going to get the commissions on it as well. I'm not going to go too much into what that looks like because there's probably a section on that, right, Sal?
Yeah, that's actually the very next question, which is nowadays it just signs them up to global. I mean, GX Nitrous, I guess Nowadays, we just sign up people into GX Nitrous, which is a great value, but most customers just want to buy crypto. I would like to separate them from people who want to become brokers, from people who just want to buy crypto.
So Sal, do you want me to use that as the opportunity to ICP them?
Yeah.
All right. Where's my screen then? Am I sharing? Oh, beautiful. Okay, cool. Let me open up the Figgy. So let me start by saying this. because it's a fundamental question. Unfortunately, it's not a real specific question. Although he did a fabulous job of writing it. I mean, congratulations to whoever was thoughtful enough to write out this list of questions, because it was quite solution oriented. So let me start by saying this, because this is an archetypical problem or a fundamental problem, which is I'm a broker and I like something about global exchange. Something like I like the fact that people can buy Bitcoin with e-transfer, which is a really hyper-specific use case, right? And I use that specifically for that purpose, which is extraordinarily hyper-specific. So let's say that's why I got involved with global exchange, and I know that my customers are interested in that and that only. So as a broker, should I have to expose them to so many of the different components of global exchange? Whether I think they're great or not doesn't really matter. It's just, should I have to expose it to them? Well, the way the system's set up right now is that everyone signs up for their global exchange account. They go into their GX Nitrous platform, and they are forced to navigate to the element of global exchange that makes sense to them. And that forced navigation is causing problems. And it's not just causing practical problems because some people don't know how to navigate through the site, which is not their fault, but our fault, but it's bigger than that. It's causing problems in the fundamental kind of notion, shout out to Notion, about what this means. Because it's like saying, you go to Walmart and you want to buy diapers, and they're putting the diapers at the back of the electronics section, and now you have to walk through a bunch of people and products you don't care about. And so with that in mind, we've taken that consideration very seriously, actually, even before these things. Actually, before you need the charger? Yeah, because my laptop is 3 screens in, so it's gonna die quick. Just so, as long as your laptop charges quickly, it's not a problem. So, sorry. We've taken that into consideration even before this complaint was brought up in this fashion. And the thing that I would say there is that our end goal, and you're gonna see that manifested through some of the things I'll show you today, and that should be manifested in fullest form in my dreams, probably in less than 60 days, is that there isn't a central place for global exchange. Right now, there's only a central place for global exchange, which is globalexchange.io or GX Nitrous, or however you access it. And so what we really want to become, and what we're on our way to doing, is becoming very much like this interface, where you can go to google.com because you're trying to search something, and you have access to all of Google's other apps, Gmail, Google Drive, YouTube, whatever it so may be that interests you, which you might be interested in, but definitely not interested right now. And you can navigate to them individually, and you can access them from any of the other applications, but you're not forced to go through any of them that you don't want to do. And so that's exactly what we're doing now. We have a feature that we've spent a lot of time building, which is called Login with GX. And Login with GX is essentially the same as login with Google or login with Facebook that I'm sure you've seen on many applications, which essentially allows you to connect your Google or Facebook account to whatever platform you're trying to log into. So now what we've done is we've separated all of the applications that we offer, and we will continue to separate them. And you can log in specifically and access that application standalone with one unified GX account. And your vault's balances are permeated across all of these accounts seamlessly, so that you don't need to kind of reconfigure everything every time you log in, but you are hyper focused on the task at hand, and you're going to go directly to that application. So that's a paradigm that we are now imposing. And you may notice that in the latest version of the Global Exchange app, oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, that's the other one. So is that there's only now 3 apps left. This might come as a great sense of jubilation, a great source of jubilation for some of you, or it might come as a great sense of emptiness for myself. And I'm making that as kind of a quaint joke at the fact that all the other applications are not gone. They're actually now fully live on their own domains, treating and catering to their specific customers, and you can log into all of them through Global Exchange with your GX login with GX. I'll show you what some of that looks like. The ones that are left directly here are also going to be separated and taken out of here to the place where this is actually not going to be anything, and you're going to now be able to access individualistic functions across many different GX apps. So the ones that are here are Vault and Broker, which are still the most popular ones. And Broker will be taken up soon to have its own standalone interface, and Vault will stand alone as itself. And so you can now kind of figure out where you want to send your customers, and also where you want to go when you want to get something done. So you don't need to go to you don't need to go to, you don't need to see your broker app if you're trying to buy crypto. You don't need to see Brain if you're trying to go to your broker app, etc. So now let me use that paradigm or live within that paradigm to address specifically the question, which is some people that just want to buy crypto. So as I already name dropped before in this conversation, we have one of our applications is a company called instacryptopurchase.com, which we created that out of a desperation for being able to accept payment processors that are crypto compliant payment processors so that people can buy crypto without having to deal with global exchange. And so we built that. And people used it. It was actually unbelievably successful for how painful of a process it is. But that's how much people like credit card. People like purchasing credit card. So what we've now taken as, and I think this is hard to overstate, and I'm sure hopefully Sal doesn't understate it in the upcoming content, which is the function of buying crypto fast, which you can radicalize and say the fastest way to buy crypto is credit card, then maybe debit card, then maybe like PayPal, Zelle, and those type of things, and then bank transfer, and then I don't know. So that gradient, that spectrum is now going to manifest itself in order of fastest to least fast on Instacrypto Purchase. So we've completely rebuilt Instacrypto Purchase, and it just got re-released. And this is what the Instacrypto Purchase app looks like now. So what it does for you is it functions like CoinMarketCap. Actually, we have 20 currencies on here. We can add like all of the ones on CoinMarketCap, but we don't want to. We're actually trying to reduce some of them and just keep it to the main 10. And you can search a crypto. Let's say you want to buy Bitcoin. And there we go, there's Bitcoin. And what it does is it allows you to directly just click buy. And as soon as you click buy, you're in the checkout process. It says, are you a GX user? If you are a GX user, you can actually log into Global Exchange, log into Instacrypto Purchase with Global Exchange. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's going to validate that I'm Sharpan, and then it's going to get me in. Now, the lucky part about that is that now I don't need to enter my Bitcoin address because it's going to go directly to my vault. I'm going to say I'm looking to purchase in the United States, and next, and then it's going to show me, this is key, and this is what we hope to expand, is how do you want to buy Bitcoin? So there's credit card, bank transfers, cash, and other vendors. And so right now in the vault, which is still in globalexchange.io, you use bank transfer. As all of you know that used it, it's only bank transfer. And actually the vault will probably stay that way. This was built only for credit card processing, and it's not going to stay that way. It's also going to add bank transfer and the other more comforting payment applications, PayPal, Zelle, and each of them, let me repeat, each of them will have their own limitations, just like credit card has tremendous limitations. But like I said, customers have to vote with their feet. If being able to wire in 30 grand and buy Bitcoin without doing almost any KYC for almost spot price is not your cup of tea, and you'd rather get instant crypto at extraordinarily high prices with many limitations as to who can get it, then that's what instant crypto purchase is. That might sound like I was trying to undersell crypto purchase, not at all. That actually is what it is, and that's what some people want, and now you have a platform directly to come and get it. Yep, it's completely active. So I'm gonna walk you through it. So you click credit card, and then we used to have one credit card processing partner, now we have two. Next week, I think we're gonna have three. Unfortunately, they all do the same thing, so you're gonna have equivalent kind of experiences. You already know Simplex. Let's try Coinal. You click next. You just type in how much USD you're trying to spend. So I'm going to type in 6,000. It's going to get the quote directly from you. I mean, from the processing agent going through our exchange. When you click pay, it takes you to their checkout page. If you click Simplex, it will take you to their checkout page. We're now aggregating all of the payment processors in one place so that you can actually sift and sort on how you want to buy Bitcoin instantly, and that is Instacrypto Purchase. The lovely part about Instacrypto Purchase, ladies and gentlemen, is that this might be the only thing you ever use in Global Exchange if you want to. And that's now possible because we are allowing you to log in directly here. All your affiliates are still tracked, connected to your brokerage because your affiliate ID is directly there. If someone goes to Instacrypto Purchase through their Global Exchange account, it redirects them to the ICP of their upline. You're never missing anything. Of course, if they come here and log in, they're already tracked. And that's it. That's all it is, right? I mean, right now I'm releasing I'm connecting the vaults to this tonight, which means that you're going to be able to see all of your balances here directly from your vault. So if you're successful in buying it with credit card, then you can easily just analyze how much you have in your Bitcoin vault. And maybe that's all you ever wanted, just like Coinbase is to buy Bitcoin with credit card or debit card and withdraw it or keep it in there or whatever it is. And you don't care about anything else. And now you have a place to do what I call the simplest, definitely not simple, the first layer of what I think is important in crypto. Now, I just want to harp on this. We've come to the instant crypto purchase, which is like a stepchild of global exchange. Behind my back went to the deity, and while I was napping, he asked, the sharp hand character doesn't seem to get it. People only care about credit card processing, and they only care about speed. And he's there, he's not really feeling all of that. Can I, subordinate myself? Can I secede from the union and format a priority where that's the number one priority? And the deity said, of course you can. And ICP said, well, what are the backdrops of that? And what are the issues with that? And the deity said, well, processing time isn't, and simplicity isn't, because it's super simple. But he said your fees are going to be obnoxious. And ICP said, wait, that's not fair. Like, Sharphand's customers don't have to pay obnoxious fees. Well, then you're going to sacrifice processing time. Well, he's like, what about all the other people that take credit card processing? Well, he's like, go do a comparison as to what they're paying what their customers are charging, and it's going to be spot on, because nobody that has taken this bout has been able to win on fees. They only win on time or convenience. And so ICP said, you know what? I'm going to prove that I'm right, and I'll take the high fees and lack of optionality, but I will prioritize simplicity and speed. And now you have a manifestation of that.
For those that want to understand that analogy much more simply,
I thought that was like a really clairvoyant analogy.
It was. Let me just give another version of it for those that are less imaginative and more direct, which is,
that was very imaginative.
I sat down with Sharphan and I said, look, the fees here on instant crypto purchase, which is denominated as the mnemonic ICP, is quite high. It's 5% to the payment processor and about 4% for the brokerage network. Now that's a total of 9%. I said, can't we come down on that? And he went and he showed me some of the more popular outlets to buy crypto, which, as you can imagine, Bitcoin.com is a very popular, very common place that most people go to gain the education of Bitcoin as well as purchase Bitcoin. And they're utilizing, when you go through the payment process to buy crypto, they're using the exact same payment processor of Simplex to actually process their credit cards. It's not that there's better options and we're not using them. It's that these are the industry standards that we're using. And if the fees are 1 or 2% higher, it's because we're feeding the brokerage network, as opposed to just being a flat service that doesn't take any margins to serve the brokerage network. So that's one thing. We found the same thing on Binance as well. So these big platforms are facing the same dilemmas when it comes to what is a payment processing that can take credit cards without any problems. No one has figured that out. And if they did, they would have a huge monopoly on the market. And that's why they're all utilizing these coinals and these simplexes and going through these same fees. And in return, they're getting crypto much more instantly. And the crypto that you get here, you can get in one of two ways. You can put your own Bitcoin address and the crypto will be sent, or as Sharpan mentioned, you can simply log in with your GX and it will be deposited into your brokerage back office or your vault back office, so that you can have it instantly. So that's the trade-off that you get, but it's tremendously convenient should you want to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin because you need it for a certain purpose. And also to those that just want to drive volume for another crypto project, or their team needs crypto, they can just utilize this, because everyone will have their own specific referral link for instant crypto purchase. And you may actually never direct them to the whole gambit of other things until they become your customer here, by introducing them to the fundamental element and service of global exchange. So that is why I really, really love this new revamped InstaCrypto purchase, because it is going to be the place, because credit card, I think people are willing to and accepting of the convenience and the time to pay the higher fee to get the immediate access to the crypto. And then should they be buying larger volumes, which I believe you could buy up to, is it $20,000?
You can actually buy a lot. The volume isn't a restriction, actually. $20,000 a transaction. That's not the restriction. I actually don't even think fees are the biggest restriction. I think what's the restriction is that you're not going to get approved if if your bank is not fly with this. And so that, maybe deserves some time. I think that let's put it like this. So Insta Crypto Purchase, like, think about it like how GX Trade is an aggregator for exchanges, and how that allows you to kind of shop between exchanges. Insta Crypto Purchase is really an aggregator of crypto-friendly payment options. And so now, as a GX broker, you're able to capture the organ, like, it would be it would be like saying you can get referral for going and selling like Hilton hotels, or you can get a referral on Expedia. And obviously you would prefer to get a referral on Expedia, because that you would essentially be able to allow your customers to choose, thus getting more customers, and you have a much broader base of being able to do that. And so InstaCrypto Purchase right now is in the process of integrating every payment processor and almost every immediate funding mechanism that's also not credit card. And you're going to be able to access all of that. Now, let me explain something to you. They're not different. This is the key thing I want everyone to understand. We can add 10 crypto, there probably isn't even 10, there's probably about 4 crypto-friendly payment processors, and they're all the same. They could honestly be the same same company, but they're not. And why we say that is because, like, again, it's so well fitting within the limitations structure, because they've essentially went and said to the bank, like, let's say Simplex, who I know really well, they went and said to the bank, hey, Mr. Bank, I know you don't like crypto, but can you draw something up for us where we can accept credit card for crypto, and we're not going to lie to you, we're going to reveal, everything that we do to you. And the bank said, sure. And they drew up essentially something that fits in here. Like, if you're this customer, like this customer that can fit in here, which is an extraordinarily specific type of use case, then they say you'll have no problems. And so Simplex bought that bullet and said, sure. And what we're saying is, okay, that's fine. I guess that's the reality of the circumstance. And some people fit within that little space, and that's a lot of people actually. And so we want to offer that, but we not only will offer it in kind of a monolithic partnership with them, we'll make it a aggregation platform so people can choose between that. And the brokers capture all of that value. But so that's kind of the explanation of the business behind InstaCrypto Purchase. But I want to harp on it again. If your clients only care about buying Bitcoin, particularly in smaller dosages, and want to prioritize speed and don't want to experience the remainder of what Global Exchange has to offer, and maybe you don't want them to experience that, don't send them anywhere except InstaCrypto Purchase, because I think as of tomorrow, they'll be able to sign up here as well. Right now, you still have to sign them up at GX Checkout, and then they can just come here every time. They don't need to go to the vault if that's kind of their MO.
Well, no, I think a lot of people will find that convenient, and like people have wanted.
And the wallets will be here too, by the way. Your crypto wallets will be here. So when you log into the vault, or you log into InstaCrypto Purchase, or you log into Pulsar, and anything you log in, you have all your vaults there. That's the advantage of having logged in with Global Exchange. I just wanted to repeat. That's not like they're different platforms. They're the same, but the limitations allow specialization in features.
Brilliant. Okay, the next question is from LJC Coco again. When will we have a platform that works consistently, where my customers can easily buy Bitcoin, convert them into altcoins easily, and trade a little if they want, make some money, and then withdraw easily?
Okay.
Website not user-friendly, navigation buttons are weirdly placed, pop-ups are so quick we cannot understand.
Okay, so wow, speedy pop-ups. I wish I had those. I think her question is a slight amalgamation of some of the things we talked about, which is something to the tune of, how can my customers do what they want? So hopefully we're addressing that. So GX Trade is some standalone application, which we may get to on this call, and we may need to have another call for something like that. But if they want to trade between cryptos, that's not InstaCrypto Purchase. Nor is that actually the vault, although you can do that to some degree. It's actually our trading platform, and we'll announce that. We'll show you what that is. And you can buy here on Instacrypto Purchase, log right out, log back into the trading platform, just like Gmail and Google, and you'll be all cooking to go. But so if you have interoperable requirements, then that's how you navigate. And actually, there's a really good question by Fireball that says, is there going to be essential navigation? There absolutely is. I'll come back to that. But there is completely decentralized focus. And this actually is really a powerful for the brokers, actually, I think, is that you can now, it's like, instead of, you kind of go from being like a Walmart salesperson. So now you're like selling something at Walmart, you're like you're in charge of selling, like I said, like milk or something. And so you go and find the guy that really needs milk, and then you have to still force him to go through Walmart. And that causes tremendous like pain for him. Whereas maybe something more like Amazon or something that allows you to only get what you look for. And that's kind of what we're becoming. And that's easier as a broker to market that digitally for sure, but I even think it in person.
Next,
like you can run ads as a broker just for Instacrypto Purchase. Like if you know what I mean? Like that's what I meant. Like you no longer need to bear the cost of explanation. That's a better way to put it.
And if we just look at Instacrypto Purchase as the opportunity, which it's so much bigger than that, but if you simply take the functionalities of a Coinbase and a better reward plan than the one that popular site offers, then you have just a wonderful combination of an opportunity to, as Sharpan said, run ads, provide the services to all of your other crypto endeavors, to your team and organization, and that alone can serve as your means of making a profit here. But beyond that, there's so much more. So we have some questions from John Griffith, who asked, when will GX Chat work? That he's waited 16 hours for.
I'm not laughing at the question. I really apologize, by the way. I'm not laughing at the question. I'm only laughing because the guy that's supposed to be in charge of that is sitting next to me, and that's a really incurring joke. So let me address that. So GX Chat works. There's a difference between something work and something being yeah, like instant, like in immediate, right? So the technology behind GX Chat works flawlessly, but what is not working flawlessly, and it's not a statement against what that is the support end of GX Chat. So let me go through GX Chat in some explanation, because that's funny and also required. Now I'm actually sad that I have to do this right now, because I have a GX Chat coming that's like astonishing, but even this one is astonishing. So let me address what it's supposed to be doing, and if it's not doing that, we can tackle it. So hopefully you see my screen. Okay, so I'm right now I hit this, right? So as a GX Chat user, I can talk in one-on-one chats to really anybody I want. So exactly, so I can talk. This is you talking to anybody else on GX. By the way, this is also you can talk to me, and you can talk to a support agent. Like you can talk to any of our support agents peer-to-peer, but that's not a support chat per se. You can create group chats, and you can chat amongst your friends and all of that. You can chat amongst your teams. You can chat in all that fashion. And then you have support. And your support will have, for example, your chat only, which is your chat in conjunction with the support team. So for example, for me, it loads every single chat because I'm authorized as a support agent, and hence I see like all of the chats that everyone is in, which is thousands at this point. So you would only see your own. Now, when you click on your own, then you would be able to interact with the entire support team, because the good thing is that they're all in that chat. Now, that functionality, that functionality right there, that sequence of functionalities is working. Now, what we're talking about is within this confines of the chat, what is the ability for you to achieve support or receive support? Well, that still has the same humane limitations of any other chat. So changing a chat doesn't particularly give us more advantage on the support side. What it actually does, and I can kind of future pace this a little, is it allows us to automate some of those support functions so that you no longer need a support agent to do that. So the goal of GX Chat is that, or one of the goals from at least the support angle, is that a question that gets asked enough times, let's say, how to buy Bitcoin? How do I buy Bitcoin? That would essentially become a part of GX Chat, where when you start typing that question, pop-up appears that allows you to buy in the chat, and you can start to see some manifestations of that. Where, like, let's say you had a one-on-one chat with one of your friends, and like, this is me and my developer who's testing something with me. I can actually send him money right here. I could GX transfer him money to his account. So, you know, I'm just gonna say, I'll send him some $2 or whatever it is, and click send. And that right there is taking, and now he would have got a notification in his chat, and he would have got $2 in his vault. So think about that logically for 1 second, which is that any function that people ask questions about, everything from the mundane to the hyper specific, hyper complex, is something that we can create automation for, so that you can literally do it yourself in GX chat just by asking that question. And so right now we have the ability to send monies through the chat, which is really great. And now that will evolve to placing trades, getting information. Maybe you just need quickly your Bitcoin address, and or something like that. You can't find that, and now you just, instead of contacting support, which you'd still be contacting support, but instead of them responding, the system would just pick it up and say, this is your Bitcoin address. And so now you get to use the chat as support augmented with intelligence that does things for you. So that's the reason we went to chats. We didn't go to chats because it makes our support agents faster. I don't think anything can do that, because they are limited by, you know, matter and cells and time limits and lockdowns and, you know, other things of that nature. But what it does allow us to do is obtain data that WhatsApp never gave us, and create processes where hopefully one day, my goal is you'll actually never use anything in Global Exchange, and you'll just come to Global Exchange's app that makes sense for you and type the action in your chat, and it'll do it for you. That's where we want to get to, and we're on our way to doing that.
Oh, brilliant. I think that people seeing this can be much more empathetic and appreciative of what goes on in the back end, to know why this shift is happening and why what's being worked towards in the future. Another question from
I mean, in addition to that, I mean, if I were to be shamelessly plugging something, I would say that we've created a function called the broadcast function, which allows the support team to make messages that you guys all have to read. Now, I was going to swear, but I'm containing my amount of curse words, so I'm not going to swear. But that function actually gives you updates when you log in. So if I create a broadcast message right now and I set it to all users, say for example, our fees change or we add a new banking option, then everyone will get that immediately once they log in, and they won't be able to leave until they read it. Now, we promise not to be annoying, and we really try not to make any broadcast messages unless we're really certain that it's necessary. But that now gives you kind of login notifications. If you're in the application and support messages you or you message them, you also get a pop-up that shows you exactly, hey, you got a message from Joe or Bob or Sal or whoever it so may be. So not only does that solve the kind of the GX chats becoming a automation platform, hopefully to take out humans, you know, and conquer the world, chats, robots everywhere type of thing, but also what it's doing is it allows us to force you to see messages that maybe you may have missed in the past due to our inability to reach you.
That is definitely, I think, going to improve communication and get everyone on the same page. So hopefully everyone can see the purpose of that. And by the way, if you have not yet migrated to chat, please do that for your own convenience and for the progression of the company. Another question by John is, when will European payments be available?
I think what he's saying is, when will it be easy for EU citizens to fund their account? I hope that's what he's saying, right? And so let's give breaking news number 2, which is, actually, we've done a really, something is appropriated, which is saying that, by the way, there's a reason why we decided to do this call, apart from the fact that it was required and requested amongst our brokers. The number one reason is we're actually entering a very big push. And Sal will talk about that more after this call is done. And over the weekend, you will receive all information about this push. Now, I'm going to be slightly mysterious and say that this push is holding some very valuable things. And some of the questions we're going to talk about today is going to force me to address elements of it, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut. This push is going to be a great economic opportunity for people that are in global exchange. It's going to be a great economic opportunity for people that want to join global exchange. It's going to allow people that are promoting global exchange to have an easier time. It's going to allow people not promoting global exchange to consider promoting it. It's going to allow many things. It's extraordinarily lucrative, and it will be organized very much so. And so that is partly the reason why all of these things are coming out. And when I say there's breaking news number 2, actually breaking news number 1 wasn't even Insta Crypto purchase or some of the things we talked about. Breaking news number 1 is that we're allowing fiat withdrawals. And that is breaking news because that's a functional thing that does something for people. The breaking news number 2 is that we're reopening 2 domestic banking opportunities. So right now we have Canada, and so I will make an announcement 3 because one of them we didn't promote properly. So we have Canada, and that's where everyone sends their money. If you're bank wiring, so if you're not Insta Crypto purchase and you're still Vault Boys, then you're bank wiring. And if that's you now, right now you have to use Canada as the option. Like I'm sure all of you guys have seen this interface. You click Vault, and even if you click, say, for example, USD, and you click bank transfer, and you type in some USD amount, I want to send, let's say, $500. And it's still going to tell you the USD account at BMO, which is an international transfer. And I think Jackie asked this question as well, which is that's expensive for Europeans. I think what she means by that is it takes too long for it to go from Europe to Canada, and the international wire fees are higher than domestic wire fees. Okay, so breaking news number 2 is that we are now reopening a domestic bank in the United States, Bank of America, a domestic bank in the United Kingdom, and a domestic bank in India. So all 4 markets, including Canada, now have domestic banking options. What does that mean? Well, let me first address India, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Because for some reason, India, Canada, and United Kingdom have instant bank transfer. So in Canada, that's called e-transfer. So if you just click CAD, and you can now do e-transfer, that's an immediate funding of your account. In the United States, in the UK, everything is an e-transfer. That's one of my favorite things about. I'd lived there for a bit. One of my favorite things about it is that you just transfer someone money. Like, you go from your Barclays account to your friend's Lloyd's account. It just happens instantly from your phone, which is great. And in India, it's very similar. Actually, I think India is like the most next level with it, because not only is it instant bank to bank, they built all these abstracted payment applications like that just make it even more fun to send money. And so those 3 countries having domestic banking is as good as having instant funding. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the United States, where we are opening up a domestic operation, a domestic bank again, but there is still limitations, because in the United States, most banks require you to, for example, still call or walk in to do the bank transfer. So it doesn't reduce some of the onerosity for Americans to do bank transfer, but it of course reduces the time, because it's quicker to do it in the United States than not. And it probably reduces the complexity, because most other banks that are not Bank of America have had customers of theirs wire money to Bank of America. So it's not going to look like they're coming to wire money to some obscure Canadian bank. So it's tremendously beneficial on that front. And currency stays the same, so there's no currency fluctuation. All of that fun stuff allows. Why are we doing that? Is because even in the immediate term, as we get into this push, and the push obviously culminates with a very large event being just a place and time. Even as we head into the push, we want to empower the actions we know people care about. And we know people care about being able to fund in multiple countries quicker, and we know people care about credit card processing, and we know people care about withdrawing fiat. And so that United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, India all have DOM options. My European friends. So let me address this in as much clarity as possible. Within the next period of time, I want to say 90 days, not only will we have our European options sorted out, it will be our main option. So the way that Canada functions right now as our default market, because we're domesticated there, that's actually, we're in the process right now of transitioning that to continental Europe. And so details about that kind of move can be discussed on another call, but what that means is that that's going to become our domestic market. And although we'll have ancillary domestic operations in other countries, just like we do now for non-Canadian countries, Europe is going to have multiple payment options, multiple bank accounts in multiple EU jurisdictions. And setting up, and it's going to be a regulated environment for us. And so setting that up is taking a little longer. For example, we have no intentions of doing that in any other place. And that's why we're kind of more quickly opening up other places, because the pre-required infrastructure is less when you're not trying to be domestic. But in the European Union, we are actually setting up the entire operation, because we are navigating away from Canada into the EU. So that's kind of the MO there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so those solutions.
I hope that our European, it's a colossal announcement. I know it's not kind of as viscerally practical as some of the other announcements. It's a colossal announcement that is now our native market, and that we will be compliant in that market, and that we will have jurisdiction in that market, and that we will be catering primarily to the sensibilities of the EU customer.
I think that those four markets will comprise a huge amount of the demographics, and trying to find banking solutions there will help marketers around the world cater to those four markets, whether you yourself are in those markets or not. I think a lot of people are getting uplifted hearing about what exactly you've been cocooned and working on, so that they understand that there is that same vision, if not a grander vision, that inspired them to join Global Exchange and follow our illustrious leader to create something brand new. As Joe said, I like what I'm hearing, and we all appreciate every ounce of support that we get as we're working through all the logistical matters. And hopefully you guys see the simplicity of the new back office, the segregation of the instant crypto purchase so that you can just send people there, the move to GX chats, and then soon, hopefully, the much more rapid reply. Just understand that our staffing is tremendously cut from what it used to be, and in those times we are continuing to do our best to operate, and we'll continue to serve you guys. So with that, there's a few other key questions that I want to make sure that we all address, starting with Mary's, who said, I really want to make money fast in Global Exchange, but I don't know how. The comp plan is complicated to follow and confusing.
Oh man, Mary, I'm sorry. Let me start by addressing the question in reverse, which is the comp plan is complicated and confusing. Okay, I will concede to such. But the great thing about Global Exchange, you actually don't need to understand the comp plan. Now, I, for example, need to understand the comp plan about anything that is a comp plan, because that's kind of my MO, but actually the diversity of Global Exchange, especially expressed in all of these new segregated standalone applications, will allow you to not require to understand every single thing that's going on, especially if you can analyze it in lifetime. So that's just one thing. In terms of the first part of your sentence, which is I want to make money in Global Exchange fast, but I don't know how. So that is probably the most honest statement. Like, Sal, just remember this time in this video, whatever it was, because this is something you should chop up. Like that right there is like the most honest representation of how I think everyone feels or should feel, which is I want to make money in Global Exchange fast, and I feel like there is a way, or else I would not have joined, but I don't know how. And I appreciate the fact that you didn't say there isn't a way how. You said, I don't know how. And I would actually go one step further in saying it's our responsibility to illuminate how that is, and we have failed at that responsibility. So I think that's why that question is quite harmonic in the way that it's stated. So now let me give you good news. Number one, which is this push that I'm talking about, that I'm reluctantly avoiding because the news is coming out tomorrow, is exactly going to answer that question. It's going to not only distill down to a very small amount of things that will make a lot of money for you, it will give you the roadmap to do it, and it will allow you, because of this new bifurcation, to do it in a way that's not complex for you or your customers. Combine that with all these breaking news, fiat withdrawals opened again, domestic funding, credit card processing. When you combine that with all of that, now you have something that I think the large scale elements of Global Exchange, which is OTC and stuff like that, can run, and people love that. People really do love that. And the introduction of the highly profitable endeavors that will be very easy for you to exploit coming tomorrow, and being again super distilled, I think for the first time, dare I say, everyone should have an answer to that question. Is Sal Khan with us, or has he?
I'm scouting for questions and getting the representation of the field, but no, I think that question, which is a conversation that you and I have had just like a day or two ago about
or like every day.
Oh,
for
like
yeah.
the potential is absolutely there. It's just the how of it. And I think once someone breaks through, whether it be the instant crypto purchase, which is now accessible and isolated, and as you mentioned, people can now run ads towards that alone, that standalone product. Because if you have anything that you do as a crypto passionate, as a crypto enthusiast, as a crypto entrepreneur, and then you, whatever, through your ebook, through your marketing, through your zealous obsession or passion of crypto, can then say, this is why I love crypto. And if you want to get crypto, if you want to begin your journey, this is where you can go. A very credible, very instant way to get crypto, and then tie in your benefit, which is of course the commission that you would make as a broker and instant crypto purchase. I think that can begin that sort of building up of a list of clients. And that's one thing that we have to appreciate, is that although there is the opportunity of making money, that money is long term. It is something that you're building a very solid book of business, that you are essentially building a franchise that you might be able to sell should you ever wish to do so, but it might have such positive cash flow that you may not. But that's just the tip of the iceberg of the revenue streams that Global Exchange is offering. There's so much, such as the VSA, that you might not be fully aware of, the pulse that you might not fully be aware of how massive these income streams can be, that they're not just little drips like selling OTC or Bitcoin. Rather, they are massive, giant residual incomes that can transform your lives in a very drastic way. And those are in the final stages of being released to you, so that you can truly take advantage of them. And I think that's an area where we need to give you guys the avenue and also the separation of each of those platforms. So should you want to hyper specialize, you can do so with ease. Final question from John Griffith. When will we get an Amsterdam office? Has there been talks about that?
That's a long time conversation. Yeah, I'm surprised that. So, I was actually recently in Amsterdam, and so we should have linked up there. But the Amsterdam office, actually, let me be very serious about it. Is that we're in the process of furnishing and finishing up our EU office. I can't again reveal where that is yet. Just be told that it's not a small investment, and it's quite significant of not just investment, but it's representative of how much value we stock in that enterprise, in that jurisdiction. And Amsterdam is an interesting place, actually, compared to some other parts of the European Union, because it's still not continental. But again, there are benefits to being there, benefits to not. We've discussed it in concept. We don't mind opening something like a vault there, which we have in Toronto, which is kind of like a very smaller version of maybe what you'd call an office, where people could still commute, do trainings and talk. But there is we can. I'm not against it. Maybe once the craziness passes over from the epidemic, we can really engage with that. But whatever we do in terms of investing into the European Union will have ripple effects into the Netherlands for sure.
Okay. Well, one way or another, we can still continue to operate this global, international digital business from anywhere in the world, and hopefully that's something that we all take maximum advantage of right now in this time of quarantine.
Yeah. So Jackie has repetitively asked for this question about GXT, and Ian also asked about the listing. So those are not exactly the same question, but I'm sure there are a bunch of questions about GX tokens. So do you want me to tackle that right now, or is there another place in your calendar for that?
No, I think we're getting to some of those key elements that will reignite so many people, and this is one of those, which is the liquidity of GX tokens.
Yeah.
And you guys really want to pay attention to this, because this will shift your perception of the platform, of the token, and I think this opens up a whole new world of possibilities for the token holders and the newcomers that can now, with much more comfort, purchase tokens. And I'll let Sharpan explain how that will be the case. It's very ingenious.
Okay, so I hope, and I don't expect, because it's a big expectation, that everyone has watched my town hall that I did in like December on GX token valuation in general. And the only reason I feel like someone hasn't is because they said, you know, what did we buy it for, and why is it the price that it is right now? And so I unfortunately can't go over everything I went in that Zoom call because it was such a colossal amount of information that was really important. So I'm going to just presuppose that everyone's watched it. And I know that's not a fair presupposition, but if you haven't watched it, go watch it because it will do you tremendous amount of good in terms of understanding how the token economics works. So assuming you know how the token economics works, let's talk about the actual question here, which is secondary market liquidity. So the function of secondary market liquidity, and I actually have a document that I typed up, I want to really release this tonight, which is kind of the liquidity roadmap for global exchange over the next 180 days, which is 6 months. I've broken up exactly in each month what and there's 2 elements to liquidity, always. And Ian asked about one of the elements indirectly, and there's another element which I think is equivalently as important. They're somewhat related. So the first element is access. So access is represented by the amount of exchanges or order books that support the immediate transaction or creating of transactions for GXT. So if you've listed on 0 exchanges, then virtually nobody has secondary market access. If you've listed on 25 exchanges, then tremendous amount of people have secondary market access. So we've listed on 1 exchange, 2, really 1 that's been prominent. We, on the other side, Global Exchanges functioned as a primary seller of GXT, but we are not a buyer of GXT. Then on Crex24, you have a secondary exchange that's both the buyer and the seller. And so that element of creating access or creating order books that further create access is something that is a key part of our roadmap, and I'll divulge some of that after I talk about the second part. The second part, which is much more important, is demand. So when you talk about liquidity, you need to have access and you need to have demand. Having access without demand means you're a really illiquid, easily accessible asset. Maybe you can think about that as something like a stock nobody wants type of idea. And then having demand without access is like Airbnb. Everybody wants to invest in it, but they're not a publicly traded company, and so nobody can invest anything. And so that is the dichotomization of demand versus access. So it's kind of foolish to look for one without the other. So first I'm going to tackle access, and then I'm going to talk about demand. So in terms of access, we really wanted at the end of December, or at least in the beginning of January, to go ahead with a very major listing. And the reality of the nature, and I could show all the communications because the company has allowed me to reveal those communications, is that we got approved, we got audited technically, like technical audit by the company, and we actually paid the amount for the listing, and we refed, was it going yes or no, is to Condary?
Secondary. Reft to as a ship coin. Yes, no. What's reft?
I maybe referred to.
Trying to understand.
Is it GXT?
We'll let Jackie reiterate that question.
Yeah, Jackie, just try to retype that question because maybe we're just not being able to understand it. So, okay, now we had made agreements with this exchange, quite large exchange, to list, and then unfortunately, because that exchange is located in mainland China, they were very much out of business between like January 15th and February 1st week. And when they came back into business, they halted all pending listings, and we were the only pending listing because they're a very big exchange and they only list like 1 person a quarter. So let me just explain who it was. It was OKEX, which I think is number 7 in terms of the largest exchange in the world. And so that would have been very nice because that would have been almost like $1 billion worth of liquidity every day goes through that exchange. And unfortunately, because of where they're located, very close to Wuhan, actually, this happened. I mean, I talked to the VP of listing almost every other day at this point. So when they came back and finally gave us an alternative, we said, you know what? I think, and this was probably now in the middle to end of February, they're like, do you want to now kind of proceed? But it's going to be a much longer rolled out process because we kind of halted our ability to do this. And then we said, no, you know what, we'll actually hold up on this, because at that same time emerged what we're going to reveal now is, I think, a bigger opportunity for liquidity. And so it's not something that we haven't attempted to do, nor have we failed at doing. It's actually something that by the time it was feasible again, we had a better option. So let me just steal my charger back from Sal. Yeah, I mean, it's the 4 screens or something going on this, right? It's like it drained the battery quickly. So yeah, coming back to the point, because let me now continue addressing this, which is the element, excuse me, yeah, thank you. Oh my God. This is why I don't do this, because as soon as you disrupt the order of things, everything goes to hell.
So in regards to Jackie's question, are we in a secondary market? The secondary market simply means that you're able to sell your tokens to another person that wants them. We have been in the secondary market ever since the first person bought GX token and was able to sell it to the second person, which could have been done after the second person bought or was interested in buying GX token. So is that what determines GXT's value? That has been covered.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't mean to be kind of crude about this. If you haven't watched the Town Hall on the token economics video, you will be frustrated beyond belief. You will be so frustrated that you'll want to, put a picture of the GX token on a dartboard and shoot at it every day, because it is incredibly impossible to rationalize without understanding the Town Hall. So I feel bad for you if you haven't watched it, because I feel just as angry in that position, but I would just recommend you watch it, because that will clarify a lot of things in terms of how the token is valued. Now let's talk about liquidity again. And by the way, the secondary market value on CREX is actually quite high. I'm actually quite surprised at what it is. It's like 30 cents almost. And I'm not proud to say that, I'm not saying that that's what, our objective. I'm not saying that, that's current prices are objective, but it's definitely a testament to how, with almost no exposure, no marketing, no promotion, and no access to liquidity and no side demand, there's still somewhat of a demand for it. So now let me go back into what we're doing to change that. Number one, we've created and we are releasing a internal order book for GX tokens. Okay, this is correct. This actually is a big time game changer. What you will now be able to do is something like this. Actually, I think right now it's going to be deployed in the globalexchange.io application, this order book, maybe tonight. So you might be able to see it. You might be able to start using it. I think Tuesday's our official release for it, but let me show you what it will look like in an application that you're not supposed to see. I know I haven't shared it because I don't want them to see this. So, like, I'm trying to go straight to the GX token page. You can't do that. So here, so this right here will be evident in your Global Exchange Nitrous account right here. It'll be on the bottom of the broker landing page. And what it will do, what it will be actually, is the place where you can buy, sell GXT on the secondary market. And every time you create a sell order, it'll go into the order book and any other person can see your order and click on it and buy it. So that is exactly what an exchange is, and that is exactly what an exchange kind of will do for you or for us in the case of any listing. Now, why is this important? It's important simply because we are essentially going to jeopardize our own monopoly on selling GXT by doing this, because now anybody that is in Global Exchange or has signed up for Global Exchange and wants GXT for one or more reason will never buy it directly from us, so as long as there's a cheaper order on the system. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, that's fine. So we'll address that after. So so let me put it like this. Right now, let's say someone wants to become a broker. They come here and let's say if they click on this lifetime subscription or they click on buying GXT or whatever it is, they're essentially buying it from us at almost $1. Then they'll be able to say, okay, Global Exchange is willing to sell it to me for $1. Let me go down to the order book and see what the orders are. And now every time you create an order for GXT, just like a limit order on an exchange, it will be evident for everyone to see. And then if, for example, Sal wants to sell 500 tokens for 50 cents, just giving an example, the customer that's procuring tokens for any given purpose will see Sal's order and say, well, 50 cents sounds a lot better than $1, and they'll buy it, and the money will be transferred from their wallet to your wallet, and your tokens will be transferred to them. That's exactly what happens on the exchange. It's not like we're creating, we're not inventing fire here. But what is the case is that we are positioning it in a place where the person that's most invested in getting GXT, which is someone looking to become a broker or someone looking to buy something on the GX platform, will be the first person to see it. Okay, that is, in my opinion, the most important access. Now, would it be more prolific for us to be listed on Coinbase tomorrow? Of course it would be. But that access actually has some diminishing effects, because the issue with listing on an exchange, although we are doing that, and I'll talk about that in the liquidity roadmap, it's coming up very quickly. The issue with it is that you're going to have information asymmetry between the buyers and the sellers. And so the sellers are people that have almost all the information to some degree, because they were buyers at one point, then now they were holders, and now they're sellers. And the buyers have almost no information, but they have a demand requirement. They want to buy GXT for some purpose. And so if the sellers and buyers have information asymmetry, you're not going to get an efficient market. That's kind of the basis of modern efficient market theory. But if what we're doing here is we're saying, who is going to be the most desperate person to buy GXT? Well, it's clearly someone that's on this page. That's for sure. There's not going to be a person more desperate for GXT than that person right here. And who is the people that who should have a disproportionate kind of entry on selling GXT? Well, it's people inside of Global Exchange. And so you will be able to you're essentially going to be able to present offers directly to the people that are trying to buy it. It's like a peer-to-peer order book. Okay, now we understand access. Let's talk about demand. Oh, I mean, another format of access is that, like I said, our 60-day, our 180-day liquidity roadmap contains 2 exchange listings, in addition to one that we're right now. One of them is an American exchange. So not only is that an exchange available in the United States, that's actually headquartered in the United States. You might know its name, but that will be divulged later. But I honestly still don't really care that much, because I think that the internal order book is more important if you're trying to sell for a better price and at a larger amount. Now let's hark back, which is the demand side. Right now, again, this was covered in the token economics video, but it's now expanding. Right now, the demand side for GXT is for people to become a broker. You need to stake 1,000 coins. Okay, that's great. So that means they're going to find 1,000 GXT. Now, almost 90-something% of our brokers who have staked 1,000 coins have bought it from us. But now with the access of the order book, they don't need to buy it from us. Actually, I'm almost positive they'll never buy it from us. So as long as there's any type of liquidity that's not within us. So that's a really new invention. Number 2 is what else is going to drive that demand side so that there are more people looking at this order book? So this will require some understanding of the product that's going to be referenced here. So just like GX Broker has, I think, driven the sale of at tens of millions of coins at this point, we are releasing, or we are now embedding the requirement for GXT in more of the GX ecosystem, especially now that it's more diverse and bifurcated. So the requirement for GXT to perform functions, sorry, I was just reading the chat. So the requirement for GXT will become increasingly embedded into the platform. And we have a lot of things that we haven't charged for, like a lot, and so many things that we're releasing today over the next week or so that we can charge for that we probably won't. And all of that will have some GXT requirement. The one that we are talking about today is actually in regards to our VSA platform. And man, I want to do I'm actually going to do a webinar on this every single day. So hold your horses on that. But the VSA is really, the way to explain it is it's our business banking infrastructure. It functions as how can a business use Global Exchange to further their endeavors. So it's appealing to a customer that is quite serious, because they're clearly not starting a business to not take it seriously. It's not like a one-person act. In the case that it is, it might be or might not be, but it's really someone that's much more serious about their endeavors and probably has already estimated cost structures and things like that. So the cheapest VSA package is $2,500 a month, and you get a bunch of stuff, and we can talk about that at another time. I'm sure we will. That's definitely tied into what we're going to release tomorrow. But the cheapest VSA package is 2,500 USD. It's an incredible undervalue of what it is in terms of what we promote. And that right there is a monthly payment. You can obviously pay for 1 year in advance or pay monthly. And we're having so much kind of influx of VSA customers that it's even difficult to handle right now. And we're going to make some examples of the customers that we have. But $2,500 a month is going to be the most popular package because it's the cheapest and it doesn't require an upfront large amount payment. So what we now offer is, so the way that a VSA works is that they still have to be a GX user. So you as let's say I'm a broker and I'm Sharpan, I get to send my GX link, they sign up. Just like they could sign up for Instacrypto Purchase, they're still a GX user. Just like they can sign up for the Vault, they're still a GX user. They would sign up for Virtual Sales Agency and they're still a GX user in your downline. So everything that they do is going to benefit you transactionally inside of their business, but also upfront. And we'll talk about that tomorrow in terms of what those commissions look like. But the most important thing that they're going to do is they're going to buy this membership, which is $2,500 a month, which allows them to open and run their VSA. So what we're creating there is a ability for the VSA to actually pay for their entire subscription. To pay for a percentage of their subscription in GXT, and we are going to be the buyers of that if the VSA chooses to do that. So let's say I'm Sharpan and I go get a customer, and I don't actually even need to get them, but I'm saying the VSA signs up and they're running their business through Global Exchange, and now they want to make the $2,500 payment, which gets deducted immediately from their vault. They actually can subsidize that by paying with GXT up to 500 USD worth of that. So in other words, the $2,500 payment per month, they can pay $500 of that in GXT, 20% of the $2,500 payment. And we're going to accept GXT at 50 cents for that. So it's essentially going to be like, they are going to be able to give us 1,000 GXT and we will reduce their payment by 500. So that means every VSA will have a requirement for 1,000 GXT every single month. So those are the people that are going to immediately, along with the new brokers that sign up, along with a bunch of other kind of high demand requirements, but the VSAs will be prolific because that's just an unconscious kind of trigger every month. And it doesn't even have to be your VSA. Now, of course, if it is, I'm sure that you guys can work something out. But that means every month there's a requirement per VSA for 1,000 GXT, and they will pay whatever they feel to be necessary, but also what is available for you guys. So I think that the numbers show that there might be, let's say, circa 1 million tokens that might be wanting to be sold on a secondary market, which is a really small amount compared to the amount of tokens that are circulating, but say circa 1 million. That essentially means that every month there is going to be a requirement for 1,000 per user. That's 1,000 users or 1,000 months. And so or 100 users at what's 1,000 into 100? It's 100 users for 10 months or 10 users for 100 months. And then all the secondary market tokens are gone. And they're back in our hands. And obviously, we will continue to circulate them. So oh yeah, I mean, that's actually to Warren's point. So the $2,500 is actually a discount already. And so the demand will actually be greater than 1,000 tokens per month. But again, even if what I said is not so clear, don't worry, because in all of the stuff we're going to release over the next 24 to 48 hours, it will become very clear. I just want you to know there's going to be a group of people that we think will be very large, but even don't need to be large, could just be like 100 people for 10 months that are going to suck out all of the liquidity for secondary market GXT. And they're not going to care about any of you guys or any of our other customers. They're simply on a mission to pay their subscription. And so that is a tremendous concurring requirement for GXT, in addition to all the other things that we're embedding it in. And so that's why I think that it'll actually have much more immediate demand on our platform than even on the exchange that we'll list on, because what the traders on the exchange, what they're always looking for is they're going to create abstraction models for what's happening on our platform. So it's like, if you're taking a call on the price of Ethereum, you might be saying, well, let me look at all the network transactions, all the gas fee collected, and all of the people who are currently staking Ethereum, and let me create an abstraction transaction around that type of volume to create the price. And that's essentially what the traders on the secondary, tertiary exchanges are going to do. But what's really driving the demand are the people that are using GXT, which we have just expanded just by that one innovation combined with the visible order book into what I think is a colossal audience. Even if, and just the important thing to understand here, it doesn't need to be a colossal audience. Even with a very small audience, all of your additional GXT is going to be stolen. I was going to say stolen, it's going to be taken. And the reason I would say that is they're going to probably get it for such a cheap price. It's going to be incredible. And I hope that you understand very clearly what we're doing. This is all just suffocating. We have nobody to, like, this is going to essentially be the next 1 million GXT is going to be bought from you guys. And now we have the second kind of round of what we're doing in terms of initiating a GXT release. So I hope that answers the question in terms of one practical solution on both sides, access and demand. Now, trust me, when you read my liquidity roadmap, you will see that those are not the only ones, but those are immediate ones that we have a lot of control over.
So hopefully, as you guys can see, and I appreciate Ian saying, great, that sounds like a good plan, because the liquidity, which has never been a possibility other than the secondary market, which primarily operates through CREX24, and which is already restricted in a few places. But this allows an internal secondary market that is kind of hosted by Global Exchange to allow those that are interested in becoming brokers or wanting to just acquire GX tokens, or in the much more immediately practical sense of the VSA, which if you do the simple math, as Warren mentioned, for a limited time, it's 50% off. And I believe that's for the first 20 VSA clients.
Gotta change.
Yeah, so if you do 2,500 times 20, and then take, or actually 500 of that can be subsidized, so 500 times 20, that's $10,000 of GX tokens that would be siphoned out of the hands of those that wish to.
That's only month one.
What?
That's only 1 month.
Yeah, that's only 1 month.
Yeah, that's only 1 month. Yeah. This is
so as the VSA, as the number of VSA client continues to grow, the existing amount, and that's only at the 50% mark. So at that point, it may increase, but nevertheless, as the number of VSA clients increase, they will have a very practical, immediate utility to the tokens, and you will have liquidity for all those that have held on to it or have experienced growth that would like to sell at some rate, or the newcomers that say, hey, should for whatever reason I want to liquidate my GX tokens, can I do so? This solution, and tying that into, as Sharpan mentioned, not just this vertical, but there's so many other verticals that we could charge for, and have that charge be in the form of GX tokens, and then provide that order book until we, of course, get to those more public exchanges, which, of course, is that destination that we're going after. But this provides immediate solution, which I hope that through this town hall meeting, as we wrap this up, you guys understand the direction that we're going in, which is a lot more simplicity and specialization should you want to hyper focus on a specific subsect, whether it be VSA, whether it be OTC through the Instacrypto purchase, whether it be the other verticals that are to be released, whether you are beginning to see the innovation in the chats that's going to allow for not just a internal mechanism of communication, but a much more streamlined mechanism of execution and getting things done for you that may not even require a support agent to actually step in there. And of course, the biggest that Sharpan has mentioned today, alongside the fact that you can buy with credit card, which was huge, alongside the fact that you can now withdraw in fiat to your bank.
Really alongside.
Yeah, exactly.
Really long side.
Yeah. So this final cherry on top to provide liquidity to those that would like to finally be able to realize some of their holdings, and or should they have access, should they want to just begin to drive that up, you're more than welcome to participate in this secondary market, which I think will alleviate a lot of the tension, frustration, bottled up desire to see that you can. And I think most people, when they try it out, they may decide to buy more, knowing that you can liquidate to the market. And I think also the newcomers that may come in like Leah, who is primarily in the mindset of an investor, to understand that token value can increase due to utilization, due to limited supply, just as Bitcoin has, may come to appreciate this because there is a secondary market. And we'll catch you guys on the next of these update calls and throughout the week from here on.
Thank you.